the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea. We stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your curiosity, your articles, your notes, and really distill them down into the essential nuggets of knowledge.
That's the plan.
And today we're diving into, well, a pretty fascinating proposal that's been making some waves. Elon Musk's call for a new political party in America.
Yeah, the America Party.
Exactly. You sent us some really compelling sources on this, and yeah, we're ready to unpack them.
Indeed. And our mission today really is to break down the origins of this idea, explore the practicalities, the money involved, the legal hurdles.
All of it.
All of it. The core question we're trying to get at, based on the material you've given us, is could something like this actually succeed? I mean, what does it really take to shake up the political landscape in the U.S.? Could this be the way?
Okay, let's unpack this then. So the genesis, the start of this America Party idea, it seems to stem from Elon Musk's recent, what you could call it, a prolific commentary session on X. He specifically called for a new third party, and it was in direct response to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Right, that spending bill.
Exactly. And our sources indicate that less than 24 hours after he, publicly blasted the congressman supporting it, the bill actually passed the Senate.
With the VP casting the tiebreaker.
Advance, yeah. That's right. And now it's heading back to the House. They're hoping for a July 4 deadline. And Musk stated right there on X, quote, "If this insane spending bill passes, the America Party will be formed the next day."
Pretty direct statement.
Very direct. He fundamentally believes the country needs, and this is his phrase, an alternative to the Democrat-Republican uniparty so that the people actually have a voice. And, this isn't actually a completely new thought for him either. If you look back to 2022, this was before his, let's say, heavier involvement with the Republican Party.
Right.
He said then that he didn't really fully agree with either major party. He stated a party more moderate on all issues than either Reps or Dems would be ideal.
So he's been thinking along these lines for a while.
It seems like it. He even put up a poll on X just recently, June 5th, 2025, asking his followers if it was, quote, time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle.
Which is interesting framing. Now, what's truly fascinating here, legally speaking, while Musk holds South African and Canadian citizenship alongside his U.S. citizenship,
right,
that actually doesn't affect his legal ability to form or even lead a political party.
Okay, so that's not the hurdle.
Not that part. However, and this is crucial to note, he cannot run for president himself because he's not a natural-born U.S. citizen.
Got it.
But beyond that specific point, the consensus among the experts, based on what you've shared with us, is that he'd face a really, really steep uphill battle just creating one, even before you get into the money or the logistics.
Okay, so we've seen Musk has the vision, maybe, and certainly the desire. But as we sort of shift from the idea to the reality, the big question comes up. Does his immense financial power, does that actually translate into the ability to pull this off?
Yeah, the money question.
I mean, as of July 1st, his net worth is estimated. It's a staggering number, $406.5 billion. That's according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index.
Wow.
Plus, he has access to resources from his companies, right? Tesla, SpaceX, and of course his ownership of X. It seems like, on the surface, an almost unbeatable advantage for any political venture.
Seemed like it.
But from your perspective, looking at the sources, what does endless amounts of money really mean when you're trying to build a political party? Does it actually overcome everything, or does it just sort of change the fight?
That's exactly the right question. Because Brett Capel, who's a veteran election lawyer, he told CBS News that, yeah, creating a new party can be done if you have endless amounts of money. But, and this is the key part, he described it as an expensive, long project.
Expensive and long.
And here's where it gets really nuanced. And this is a key takeaway from the sources. Before political parties get formally recognized, they often operate as not-for-profit groups.
Ah, okay.
And during that phase, there's basically no limit on how much money someone like Musk could pour into it.
So initially, he can use that massive wealth.
Initially, yes. However, if the party actually succeeds and gets national recognition, which you'd assume is the goal.
Right, that's the point.
Then suddenly, he becomes subject to Federal Election Commission, FEC caps,
Ah, the rules change.
Completely.
Yeah.
Those caps would limit his annual contributions to just $10,000 to a state party or $44,300 to a national committee.
Compound to billions, that's basically nothing.
Exactly. Think about that for a second. The very moment the America Party might achieve its goal of national relevance, Musk's biggest advantage, his almost limitless financial leverage, dramatically shrinks.
So it forces a whole strategic shift in funding right when they might be gaining traction.
Precisely. It's like a built-in financial cliff for any successful new party. And we also have to consider his America PAC, that's his super PAC-a-day, right? Which uniquely allowed him to donate unlimited sums to the Trump campaign.
Right, I remember that.
The catch, though, is that a super PAC must remain independent from candidates or political parties by law.
Meaning, he can't just funnel money from the super payday to his own party.
Exactly. It makes it totally infeasible for him to directly fund a party he founded using that specific vehicle.
Okay.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bernard Thomas, he's a political science professor mentioned in the sources, he really emphasizes that money is not enough.
Right.
He says money is not the only obstacle in front of third parties. He suggests that even with all that wealth, Musk simply cannot replicate the amount of institutional structure these two parties have.
You mean like the decades of groundwork, voter lists, local offices?
Exactly. All that infrastructure, it's not just about cash. It's about the organization, the people, the history on the ground.
Okay, so we've established Musk has the vision, maybe the drive, and seemingly bottomless financial resources, although with some serious caveats on how they can be used.
Right.
But let's shift from the ledger books to the voter booths. The real question then becomes, even with billions, can you actually buy the hearts and minds you need to shake up a system dominated by two parties for so long?
That's the core challenge, isn't it?
Our sources do point to a growing segment of the electorate that, well, seems open to a new option. Ballotpedia reports that the share of registered voters who aren't affiliated with either major party, that's grown 9% since the year 2000.
That's significant.
It is. Currently, about 37% identify as Democrats, 31% as Republicans, leaving a pretty big chunk in the middle or unaffiliated. And Musk, he was involved early in the Trump administration, served as a special government employee, helped Trump and other Republicans in 2024. Maybe he sees this group as his in for getting a third party onto the ballot.
Possibly targeting that unaffiliated bloc.
He's claimed the country needs a party that cares about the people. And interestingly, there's a new Gallup poll mentioned that shows national pride has actually decreased, especially in younger generations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it coincides with this debate about whether the government really cares about people. For example, only 64% of Gen Z Republicans say they are extremely or very proud to be American.
That is interesting. It could suggest an opening, maybe, for a different kind of message.
Could be a potential fertile ground.
However, the challenge then comes with Musk's personal favorability, especially among a key demographic.
Which one?
Political independence. The very group you'd think would be most open to a new party, right?
Logically, yes.
Well, a Quinnipiac University poll conducted just last month revealed that among those independents, 57% view Musk unfavorably. Only 29% view him favorably.
Ooh, that's underwater. Significantly lower even than Trump's ratings with that same group, according to the source.
Exactly. So, while independent voters exist and some independents even get elected to Congress.
Like Angus King or Bernie Sanders.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a very different story for a third-party candidate trying to win the presidency. No third-party candidate has ever actually won that office.
Ever.
And a large part of that is because the major parties regularly, let's say, adjust state laws or take other steps specifically to prevent third parties from even getting a spot on the ballot easily.
So it's not just about popularity, it's baked into the system, a systemic resistance.
Very much so.
So, okay, even if there's an appetite for a third option, and Musk has the money with those caveats we discussed, the actual path to getting on the ballot sounds legendary for its difficulty.
It really is.
How would he even begin to navigate that maze, that labyrinth of different state laws and national rules?
It's incredibly complex.
I mean, you look at the Green Party or the Libertarian Party, they were founded decades ago, right?
Decades, yes.
And they still face state-by-state pushback just for ballot access, for party recognition. It sounds less like forming a party and more like signing up for a perpetual legal battle in 50 states.
That's not far off. Each state has its own set of rules, its own hurdles. And according to that election lawyer, Brett Capel, these hurdles range from high to extraordinarily difficult to overcome.
Wow, extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah. In some states, a new party might need a huge number of signatures just to start. Then they might need to win a certain percentage of the vote, sometimes across multiple election cycles, just to stay on the ballot.
It's designed to keep newcomers out, essentially.
It often functions that way. We saw this play out recently. Remember Kanye West's run in 2020?
Oh yeah, the birthday party.
Right. And he even apparently got some guidance from Musk. Despite his massive name recognition, he only managed to get on the ballot in 12 states.
And got very few votes, relatively speaking, about 68,000.
Just 67,906 nationally, yeah. And the sources give a specific example for California. To start a new party there, you need to sign up 0.33% of state voters as registered members. That's about 75,000 people. Or you submit 1.1 million signatures from voters.
1.1 million signatures.
And even after that, the party has to keep meeting that 0.33% registration threshold or win at least 2% in the statewide race just to maintain its ballot status.
So it's a constant fight just to exist on paper.
It really is. And this brings up the next question. What about national recognition? A state-level party would eventually need to seek an advisory opinion from the FEC.
Which won't be simple.
Definitely not without a fight. Musk would almost certainly face intense criticism, legal challenges, probably from both the Democratic and Republican parties.
They don't want the competition.
Of course not. You'd see litigation over signatures in every state, which, as the sources note, would require him to spend tons of money just on lawyers and legal battles.
Back to the money again, but used defensively this time.
Exactly. And Professor Tomas points out something else interesting. Historically, third parties that actually succeed in achieving their goals, maybe getting an issue adopted by a major party, they usually disappear within about 10 years.
Really? So their purpose isn't necessarily to win long term.
Tomas suggests their purpose is often to cause pain to the major parties, to force them to co-opt whatever the third party is selling just to stay alive politically.
So it's more about influencing the big players than becoming one yourself. A strategic disruption.
That's one interpretation, certainly supported by historical patterns.
Okay. Finally, let's consider Musk's own past political endorsements. This varied history he has. Will that help or hurt an American party trying to attract voters, especially those in the middle?
It's a mixed bag, isn't it?
Definitely seems like it. He endorsed Joe Biden in 2020, Hillary Clinton in 2016, Barack Obama in both 2012 and 2008. That's a pretty clear track record on one side, historically.
It is, leaning Democratic in those presidential cycles.
However, then you get to 2024, and the picture just shifts dramatically. Musk becomes the biggest single spender in Republican politics.
Over $290 million donated to Trump's campaign and other GOP candidates.
Huge sums. And he's also actively pushed Republican, or at least right-leaning, politics internationally, posting support for those right-wing street demonstrations in places like Brazil and Ireland.
Yeah, that global element is noted too.
So this is a very recent, very public, very strong shift to the right. How does that potentially influence the perception of a new party supposedly aimed at the middle 80%?
That's the tricky part. While his financial status and that recent very strong support for Trump could be seen as an advantage by some, maybe attracting certain voters.
Right.
Our sources state pretty clearly that even with his America pick, more resources and a far larger organization would be needed to survive as a third party.
Back to the infrastructure point.
Exactly. Bernard Tomas again reiterates, money isn't the only hurdle. It's about building that genuine, widespread political structure and, crucially, trust.
Which takes time and maybe a consistent message.
Perhaps. And interestingly, the Libertarian Party's national chairman, Stephen Nikhaila, offered a very direct alternative. He basically suggested Musk should just back his party instead of starting a new one from scratch.
Oh, what did he say?
He stated, quote, making a new third party would be a mistake. The Libertarian Party is the most set-up party to be the dissident, subversive party.
So basically, we already exist, we have the infrastructure, why reinvent the wheel?
That seems to be the gist. It highlights that even established third parties, despite all their own struggles, do have decades of groundwork that a brand new party, even one funded by Musk, would completely lack from day one.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this really mean for the potential America Party, or really for any attempt to seriously shake up the political status quo in the U.S.?
Well, what this deep dive into your sources seems to reveal is that while, yes, Elon Musk absolutely has the financial resources,
Unquestionably.
and yes, there is a segment of the population, maybe growing, that seems open to a new political option.
The unaffiliateds, the disillusioned.
Right. But the actual path to forming, and more importantly, sustaining a successful third party, whether it's called the American Party or something else, it's just fraught with immense challenges.
Legal, structural, public perception.
All of the above. The existing two-party political establishment is incredibly resilient. It's deeply entrenched in law, in funding, in voter habits.
Yeah, the system is kind of built to protect itself.
It appears that way. And the sources also indicate it's actually still unknown if Musk will even start forming the American Party, even if that one big, beautiful bill passes, despite his strong words.
So it might just remain an idea or a threat?
It might. We don't know yet. But this whole deep dive into the practicalities, the nuts and bolts of launching a new political entity, it leaves us, and you, the listener, with a pretty compelling question, I think.
Which is?
In a political system that so heavily favors two major parties, what does this exploration of the American Party proposal really tell you about the true cost, financial, legal, political, and the real feasibility of fundamental political change in America today? And maybe how does that influence your own thinking about the future of American politics?
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're dying